15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? If competitive pricing and a quick turnaround are what matter to your business, come see us at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. Or you can give us a call at 850-326-3000. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport. The best place in town to take a leak.
City Toyota. Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida. Live and local from the Bendian's Best Move Studios. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
Live and local.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
This thing is going to be a financial and cultural disaster.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Whopper, 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 whopper.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keep making noise! Keep making noise!
What is up, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in beautiful Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife, and we've got a great show lined up for you this afternoon. Alan Watson will be joining us at 4:20, and then we will have Sam Peebles joining us later on this afternoon. Hold on one second. We'll have Sam Peebles joining us at 5:20 to dive into the NL Central as the Cubs and the Dodgers get ready for the season coming up. What's it, the 18th and 19th, so Tuesday and Wednesday up next week. James, you excited about the season starting over there in Tokyo?
I'm excited just for baseball to be back in what we know as the full baseball mode. I love it. I don't mind the overseas games starting a couple of days, almost even a week.
It's actually about what?
About a week and a half.
9 days, yeah.
Yeah, because the Cubs will come back and still play 4 more spring training games.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
At that
You
point,
start
if you've
the
already
season.
played. Yeah, exactly. If you've already started, let's just roll with it. Move the game 5 days back or something. Make those 4 games happen.
Let them get I guess they have to get reacclimated to the United States, and it's,
and that's what they're doing. Because if you look at it, they're giving the Cubs and Dodgers 4 days off before this game, so no spring training games form. But after the game on Wednesday, it's only 2 or 3 days off before they're back into spring training mode again to do their last 4 games, which I guess kind of makes sense. Let's give them a bigger break before, quote-unquote, real games happen. And, if they, fumble a couple of spring training games when they get back in, nobody's really going to notice.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out, but the season will get underway with the Cubs and the Dodgers. Did you see Seiya Suzuki taking some
samurai sword?
Batting practice with a samurai sword, just cutting baseballs in half?
Just cutting the baseballs in half. Eventually made contact with one and hit the cameraman. I was like, owie.
Yeah.
Entertained by it. But it was a great video. If if you guys hadn't watched it yet, head out to, basically, I'm going to say it's probably on any of those social media platforms.
Yeah,
and just
Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook, X, YouTube.
I've got it set up over there. I got to show you guys how to use it, though, where we have an NDI. So basically we can show what's over there on that computer onto the Facebook feed. But I just got to show you guys how to work that, and then we'll try to work that into the programming as we go along. Lots of college basketball going on right now. And earlier today, you had Georgia Tech taking Duke to the wire in the first half. Cooper Flagg goes down with an apparent ankle injury. Spot him in a wheelchair, and I guess that just gave the Duke Blue Devils a lot of momentum somehow because they ended up taking care of business in the second half. Lots of great games, though, to this point. St. Bonaventure with a comeback win of their own. You've got FAU playing right now. North Carolina outlasted Wake Forest. It's been a lot of fun, man. I didn't really realize till last night because I haven't typically tried to keep up with as much college basketball as I have to this point, at this point of the season. Normally, conference tournament, I start paying attention to things, but I've been all into the automatic qualifying tournaments, and we really need a red zone version just starting right now. But when you think of March Madness and you've got the 4 different time slots and they've got different, like if you go to marchmadness.com, they've got a broadcast that is kind of flipping between the best games, kind of like what we air here on ESPN Northwest Florida. But if you think about it, the conference tournaments is that on steroids. I mean, you have each conference is kind of playing 4 different games a day, and then you have all of your automatic qualifier tournaments going on as well. Man, they are really missing out on an opportunity to have a college basketball red zone just for the last 2 weeks prior to March Madness going on.
Oh, that'd be great. Even if they only, for right now, institute it for March Madness.
Yeah, but they do have one for March Madness. And then they also have on marchmadness.com where you can watch 4 games at one time, which I like that even better because then you can, kind of focus on the one that you want to focus on. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun with these conference tournaments. Texas and Texas A&M going after it right now, just starting the second half. Texas has a 4-point lead on Texas A&M. Right
36-35.
Is it a, wait, what'd you say?
36-35, Texas over Texas A&M.
Hey, that's the beautiful thing about streaming. No 2 streams are on the same timeline at all. But lots of great games, man. I've been enthralled with it. How about Arkansas taking care of business against Ole Miss today? And it was kind of the tale of 2 days for Arkansas because yesterday they jump out to a big lead against South Carolina, 47-30 at halftime, and then almost give that game up. And then today, actually, no, Arkansas lost to Ole Miss because they came down. They were supposed to win, and they were at the free throw tie game. They were at the line with a tie game. Ole Miss grabs the rebound, goes down and shoots a 3 at the buzzer, essentially to get the win. I think there was like 1.2 seconds left, and Arkansas had no timeout, so Ole Miss will be moving on. But that was a wild game. In JUCO basketball last night, the women's state tournament quarterfinals, Gulf Coast has an early exit as they lose to Eastern Florida 80-75. In high school baseball, Winter Park beat South Walton 5-3. Bozeman over Wakulla 5-1, and Paxton took down Pensacola 5-1. It was Rutherford over Franklin 9-8, and Mariana beat Bluntstown 10-5. In high school softball, Bozeman falls to Choctaw 7-6. Tonight in JUCO men's basketball, Gulf Coast over there in Niceville will take on Florida Southwestern State College at 8 p.m. So we will get you to the results for that tomorrow evening at 4. We're only going to be running until 5:30. So make sure that you're tuned in from 4 to 5:30 tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll get you to the coverage for the ACC semifinals with the tip being at 6 p.m. Tonight in Bay County High School sports softball side of things here, Mariana, who's 0-9, is hosting Port St. Joe 6-3 at 5 p.m. Rutherford is 3-3. They're hosting 2-6 Walton, and they will get underway at 6 p.m. Chipley's 5-3. They host the Mosley Dolphins, who are 3-5. They will start at 6 p.m. Holmes County 5-3. They're hosting Liberty County, who is 8-1 to this point, and they will start at 6 p.m. Then Weewaw and Sneads. Weewaw is 2-8. Sneads 1-4. First pitch tonight at 6 p.m. In baseball, North Bay Haven 4-6. They are hosting Liberty County, who's 2-6, and that game will get underway at 6 p.m. Mosley and Riverdale, they get started in about 45 minutes over there at Mosley. I believe this could be a part of a tournament, but they start at 4:45. Mosley's 4-7, Riverdale 5-4. Vernon 2-10 hosting 5-5 Chipley for a 6 p.m. first pitch. Bay is 8-4. They're taking on Rickards at 3-7. 7. They start at 6 as well. Arnold, 7-5, taking on Marist, who is 8-2. They start at 6 p.m. Port St. Joe and Wakulla. The Tiger Sharks are 6-7. Wakulla War Eagles are 7-4, and they get underway at 6:30. And then Bozeman, 12-1. Top Banshees power rankings here for Bay County High School athletics in baseball. They're taking on 3-12 Bluntstown. And that game starts tonight at 6:30 p.m. Y'all get over there to ESPNPC.com and click on the Big Bracket Challenge and get in there. I believe we have 35 contestants to this point. We want to get over 103. My goal is to be sitting at 120 after Selection Sunday, which is this Sunday at 5 p.m. This Sunday we'll have the SEC Championship coverage starting at 11:45 in the morning for a 12 p.m. tip. And then at 5 o'clock, Selection Sunday right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Thank you to Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and Buffalo Rock Pepsi for sponsoring our Big Bracket Challenge. James, we had you on here Monday, but free agency was kind of just getting under the way. What are some moves that have stood out to you in the National Football League's free agency?
Well, the Titans have basically signaled to me what they are going to be doing with signing Dan Moore from he didn't sign him from the Steelers, but he was a free agent with the Steelers because the Steelers didn't re-sign him because, let's face it, wasn't that great of a tackle. But the Titans, so desperate for a tackle, out there reaching, giving a guy, $15-20 million a year on a guy that should not be anywhere near the top echelon of pay for a tackle when he's throwing out numbers like having the most sacks recorded against him for a season, which is a step up, I guess, for the Titans because, C.J. Latham last year was second in giving up sacks. So, hey.
Or is that a step down, technically?
It's a step up. They're just going to get more sacks so the Titans can guarantee another number 1 pick. It's a step up.
Do they go back-to-back years picking quarterbacks? So you're feeling like the Titans are signaling with the signing of Dan Moore, they're going Cam Ward.
They're going Cam Ward or Shadur. I don't think it's Shadur. I think it's more Cam Ward.
I think it's 100% Cam Ward. There's been the whole situation on First Take with Ryan Clark saying, with Shadur Sanders, the reason he's falling in the mock drafts is because of his skin color, because he's black.
Well, then why isn't Cam Ward falling?
Well, that's what, that's kind of like the whole very easy to throw back argument is why isn't Cam Ward falling? I think, there's, with Shadur Sanders, we're just going to have to see. I don't, obviously it has nothing to do with his skin color. I don't think so. At this point, in the NFL, it's almost coming close to where there's more black starting quarterbacks than there are white starting quarterbacks. So I don't think that your skin color has anything to do with this. I think that there could be an attitude problem where he thinks he's above everyone else.
Well, if you notice, he's falling now after he does personal interviews with these teams. So it's not that they're seeing something now on tape because, all these GMs, all the coaches, all the scouts have been watching tapes of these guys for, since high school, basically.
Right.
And he, everybody was talking Shadur, and nobody was talking about how he was falling backwards until he did not do anything at the combine. Let's face it, no quarterback that is going to be in the top 10 anymore is going to do anything at all at the combine. That's not going to happen. So I'm not shocked by that. But the shocking thing is after he does these interviews with these teams, all the teams are like, we'll step back from him a little bit, see if we can pick him up maybe second round or something.
We'll have to see. I do think that Shadur still goes first round. It just depends. We're starting to see the dominoes of the quarterback realm falling into place. A lot of veterans getting signed. Mac Jones getting signed.
Mac Jones
by the San Francisco 49ers. Coach Brian Haddad on the Inside Drive today was talking about how that has kind of went full circle, right? Because the 49ers trading up to the 3 picks seemed like they were going to be taking Mac Jones. They end up taking Trey Lance. Trey Lance now, I believe, is a Cowboy if he's still on the
still there.
Yeah, still on the roster over there. Mac Jones is a San Francisco 49er. But yeah, basically we're waiting on Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is going to be conversing with the Giants and the Browns. Aaron Rodgers, could he be going to the Minnesota Vikings and completing the circle of life, or the history repeating itself narrative, following the same exact footsteps of Brett Favre? And if that's the case, does Jordan Love end up doing the same exact thing? James, what do you think, though, with Aaron Rodgers? Do you think that a deal will be worked out with the Minnesota Vikings, or do you see him going to the Steelers? What's your prediction for Aaron Rodgers?
Again, with what the Vikings kind of are signaling to me is they're ready for J.J. McCarthy to take it. I think that's what's happening there. So I do not think we will see Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings. I think that is entertaining, and I love the idea of just, following a straight Brett Favre storyline. I just don't think it's going to happen. Steelers kind of make a good landing spot sense to me, just because, well, they need a quarterback. I think the Steelers might draft a quarterback this time. I don't think it's going to be a high quarterback pick. I think it's more third, fourth round, try to have somebody they can build up. But, you can throw Aaron in there. You'll sell a couple jerseys. You'll get a couple people to come watch. You might win a few games. I mean, it's got to be better than whoever their third-string quarterback that I don't even know the name of.
Well, they brought back Mason Rudolph today.
Oh, Rudolph.
I was really hoping the Browns were going to make a run for him. Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph battling
Miles
for QB1.
Garrett back there.
Yeah,
going
exactly.
After him during practices so he can hit him with a helmet.
Practice would be a ton of fun for that combination. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can like and share the Facebook feed and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also download the app and register. Go to your Google Play or your Apple Store. Type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Rays had a new ballpark. Essentially, everything was, all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. They had everything ready to go. And then something happened in October.
Man. The ink just didn't dry.
Yeah, it did not dry. Something happened in October that I guess is out of their control. And so they're going to be playing this season at Steinbrenner Field. We all knew that because back to, when I forget which hurricane it was, but there was a hurricane that hit and
Milton.
It was Milton. The Hurricane Milton hit, and the roof of Tropicana Field was torn to shreds, essentially.
Basically.
Yeah, and so they were going to get the new stadium, and now they've backtracked. My question to you, James, is for how much longer will the Rays be in Tampa without a deal in place or be in St. Pete without a deal in place for the future? Is this a new Nashville sound?
I don't think it's going to be in Nashville Sounds. I did see a leaking of a Nashville Stars hat earlier today, which I still don't believe. Because right now, we're in a crossroad right now between Major League Baseball and an owner who doesn't want to just literally do anything except move. This is very Fisher in what Stu is doing. And Stu has, I think, an interest in keeping the team. He just has no interest in keeping the team in the Tampa area. I think he wants to go to greener pastures, and I think Rob Manfred wants the team to stay there as long as Stu owns the team.
Okay, so if they were to, and there's kind of been a lot of talk about trying to get Stu to step down or to sell the team, rather. So if he were to sell the team, you could see the franchise moving?
I think that franchise has a better chance at moving if Stu will step back, sell the team, and especially if it's to like an ownership group that is actually showing that it wants to put a good product on the field versus just an ownership group that is like, hey, look at me, I own a team.
Yeah.
I think that will go a long way in Manfred allowing the move, but I just think Manfred really wants that Tampa market. Even though it's not the biggest market, I think Raleigh now is a bigger market, and I think Nashville almost is certainly a bigger, quote-unquote, TV market. So
and I guess that matters more, right? The TV market matters more so than the people attending the games.
Absolutely, because most of your money now for baseball is coming in through all these TV deals, and a lot of them are split TV deals, so you share with the whole community. So if Stu isn't playing in his own stadium, but he's still getting the TV revenue, other teams are still happy.
Yeah.
So, it's still producing money in for him. Now, if people stop watching, stop going to the games, that's when you got a problem with Stu. So as long as Stu is still getting the programs out and still going, the team's still making money, I don't think the other owners are going to push him out, because the only people that can push him out is if the owners vote and say he's gone. The commissioner himself can't do it unless, like if he gets charged with a murder charge and goes to jail for murder, yes, then the commissioner can take the team away. But as in order of like a vote or just like, I don't like this guy, he's got to go, it's going to have to be done through the owners. And I don't think the owners are going to do a coup because all the owners don't themselves want to be caught like in that situation, although most owners aren't actively trying to shop their team for the last 15 years.
Well, and then on top of that, if you're the owner of if you're in the group of owners, right, why would you want to get rid of an owner who's not trying as hard as you? Because that kind of just, you're starting above them, right?
Yep. I mean, the only thing that Stu's got going for him is he does hire smart baseball people around him.
And they do things on the cheap.
And they do put out good teams on a cheap dollar. Because, I mean, if you look at the Mets, the New York Mets in the last 4 years have spent more money on players than the Rays have in the last 20. Do some math there, everybody. Think about that kind of money going in. And the Rays have more wins in that 20 years than the Mets do.
It's wild, man. You think about the teams just from Florida, right, and the Tampa Bay Rays and in the Miami Marlins, and the success that they've had while also at the same time not really
having great.
They have great rosters, success. But once they get a great roster, well, okay, definitely. I mean, I don't know. It's still a Florida market, right? Like we eat our sports up around here, and maybe not as much in the sense of attendance, but in the sense of viewership, right? I know that the Rays are a highly watched team down in the Tampa area. It's just that people go to the games. I think a lot of that has to do more so with the location of Tropicana than it does anything else, right? Yeah, that was going to be one of the things with the new stadium, depending on what part of St. Pete, because it was going to still be in Pinellas County and St. Pete, and depending on what part, how that team could have, or at least attendance for the Rays could have flourished.
I mean, and I understand the argument there that, you know, they're trying to look at the Braves model and build the stadium around it, buy all the property around the stadium, build up a bunch of businesses, hotels around it, make the team a whole bunch of money. Now, that did work for the Braves, and it worked quite well for the Braves moving from downtown Atlanta up into Smyrna.
Yeah.
You know, but if you look at the demographics for the Braves, fans were driving from, you know, like Smyrna, Alpharetta, those places usually north of Atlanta, to go to downtown Atlanta to watch the Braves games. So you're actually taking the Braves and moving them closer to the fan base, though not being Atlanta. The thing is with the Rays, they're not in with the fan base. You know, they're outside of it on the other side of the bridge. And if you still keep the Rays out there on the other side of the bridge, you're still not going to pull in the Tampa people. You've got to get it to where people can at least not even walk to the ballpark, but at least drive to the ballpark within a good 15 to 20 minutes.
Parking's a huge deal down there at the Trop as well. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We are going to talk a little golf with the owner of Golf Plus, Alan Watson, and we'll get into some golfers to watch out for at TPC Sawgrass and what he thinks of Tiger Woods and the future for him. Chef Ross saying Aaron forgot to send seductive pics to the Jets trainer to keep up with Favre, so there's one slightly less difference in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers keeps all of his stuff a little bit more privatized.
It's yet. He hasn't done it yet.
There you go, but he doesn't really have the same connections. Maybe we'll find out in the future if he did or didn't. He's kept us in the dark till now. You're right with the Afternoon Underdogs. More with Alan Watson when we get back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Bill Allen, Greg Wernicke, two experts that really run Tallahassee and Florida State Athletic Department.
Declare for the draft, but if nobody declares they want you, I want to ask you both real quick. You got to go somewhere else.
He comes on there and he says, I'll come under one condition, that each one of my offensive linemen gets paid X.
There you go.
Weekday morning, 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The rest of the day, a likelihood of thunderstorms and partly cloudy and a temperature of 70 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south. A variety of slight fog and some clouds tonight and quite warm near 64. Slightly foggy in the morning followed by some clouds and 73 tomorrow. 75 and sprinkles Saturday. This is your Thursday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
College football fans, this is Patrick with Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. As toe meets leather to start this football season, don't forget about your lawn. Sod webworms and other turf-destroying insects are on the move. Before they can score a touchdown in your lawn, call Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control to set up the right defense for your property. Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control, where the yellow and blue trucks make your lawn green. Call us local 890-5820. Remember, 890-5820.
Tired of flipping through channels and finding nothing good? Introducing Lucid Stream TV. Get over 2,000 live streaming channels. Catch every game of the season with over 100 sports networks, including ESPN, ESPN Plus, the NFL Network, and Red Zone. Even pay-per-view events. Watch local network channels from most major markets throughout the country. Fox, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Just $41.99 a month. Cut the cord, not the fun. To get Lucid Stream TV, go to ESPNPC.com and click the Lucid TV logo.
Live and local from the Pindian's Best Move Studios. For everything in the world of golf, it's the Watson Report. Thursdays at 4:20 with Alan Watson from Golf Plus. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're in the doghouse with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife. Y'all can give us a call or text 850-215-6290. We are your spot for select Orlando Magic games, and the Magic will tip off tonight right here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 6 p.m. Head on over to ESPNPC.com and click on the Big Bracket Challenge. It's up there at the top. There's a link there, and then you click on that banner, and it will take you to our group and sign up. I believe we have 35 members by the end of the show. Our goal is to get to, let's say, 41. So I need 6 people to go sign up for the Big Bracket Challenge, as we have Alan Watson in the building with us. Alan, what is going on this beautiful Thursday afternoon?
I'm trying to figure out how to spell Big Bracket Challenge and say it 5 times in a row or something. I don't know. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. You know, this is going to be embarrassing because obviously I'm not as big a sports nut as you guys are. I mean, you guys really know how to cover it all, follow it all. I mean, it's amazing. You guys would probably watch horseshoes on TV if it came on just because it's a sport.
There's been some blank days where that's happened.
Curling is great.
I'm about to admit something. With March Madness coming up, I have never, ever in all my life filled out a bracket for a contest, a tournament, money, no money. I've never filled out the full bracket.
You got to at least go to the ESPN.
I will this time because I think it's great. But since I pay so much money to this station, I know I can't win. So I know I'm not. But it's so big. And here's why. Probably I only have followed a handful of teams over the years, and so when you start getting into people like North Dakota State, I have no idea how they played all year, or like I can guess that there's teams that are perennial good play. UConn, Duke, like that. And up until this year, Kentucky, there's always those teams that like, well, they got a pretty good chance. But like when you start talking about West Coast teams and way up north and all that, I don't know enough. It would be a pure guess, which probably would work out anyway because there's always so many surprises in the tournament anyway, right? I mean,
exactly.
Look, this kid from Duke just got hurt. He's one of the top players in the league this year, and he's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
And now he turns his ankle. Who knows? Right?
It's not looking good I say it's not looking good, and they came out and dominated Georgia Tech after the loss of Cooper Flagg. But that's the truth. When it comes down to March Madness, it's the less you know, the better your chances are. I spend so much. It takes me like an hour and a half to fill out the bracket.
Yeah, I heard you talking yesterday to the young lady that was on with you. I can't think of her name. Morgan. And she knows so much more about sports than I do, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, they let me on this station? Like, this is bad.
She was even talking about how she picks her brackets, which is basically what uniform is better or what fan base do I like
I heard that.
Ticks me off the least.
Exactly. That was hilarious. But I just thought, I don't even go that far.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna figure it out this year. I'm gonna do it. So anyway, whatever. We'll figure it out. But
buy the mascot that you like. That's
a mascot. That'd be a good way to do it. Just figure out what mascot could eat the other mascot and then go that way.
There you go,
like
man.
Beavers and bison. It's like, well, bison wins,
But what if it's 100 beavers versus 1 bison? Now that's when things just get off the rails.
Who's got the home field advantage? Is the bison on the ground, or is the bison like in the water with the beaver? We got to look at home field advantage.
But and maybe I'm wrong about this, but March Madness is one of those tournaments, or NCAA tournament. There really isn't a home field advantage like there is in like football and other sports, right? Because isn't it kind of played regionally?
Yeah, it's played regionally. So there are, like, if you're the number one seed, like number one overall seed, they're going to be Auburn, playing at the right. It's going more than likely it's going to be Auburn. So they're going to be playing at the location that is closest to Auburn, like like
Atlanta maybe or something.
Right.
Or Birmingham.
I don't know exactly where they're at right now.
It won't literally be at home though.
No,
it won't.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So I think that's kind of good though.
Yeah,
because it kind of takes away the whole. We get to play at home. Obviously you deserve that in some sports, but anyway.
And then when you get down, and then when you get down into some of those lower seeds, though, now they're having to travel further away. So there is some element of travel that comes into play, but I think that it's a lot better having it on neutral courts than it is all being at the house.
And I do watch a little bit of it every year, but I just don't know enough about it. I'm like, at any given point, I could be like, "Oh, Syracuse won. Was that supposed to happen? I don't know. I don't know."
Well, we're gonna have the first bracket from Alan Watson in the Big Bracket Challenge. So excited about that.
So we'll see how far, whether I last a day or a few days, or I won't make it to the end. I'm sure of that.
You never know, though. You never know. We'll. I'm sure that if you end up winning, we'll get you a gift card to one of our great sponsors. Maybe even a Golf Plus gift certificate or something. Save you money over there. You guys are hiring over there at Golf Plus. What is it? Are you?
Well, I'm pretty much wrapped up with that, but we have been trying to replace a person. Obviously, being a small business and only having a handful of people, when we lose somebody, it's like a chunk of our staff when you lose one person out of four at each store. So, I always tell people, like, if you have a business with 100 employees, it sucks to lose somebody, but you can keep going. But when you only have 4 or 5 people at each location and you lose one, that's 25% of your workforce. So I've been working a lot of hours lately. I'm tired. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of interviews, been talking to folks, and we'll have somebody new on staff pretty soon. And we're still hanging in there. Me and BJ and Jerry got it covered. In fact, we had a really busy day today. I just snuck away because we finally got a little bit quiet, and I probably shouldn't have left, but hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see. But, TPC Sawgrass, the Players' Championship's going on. This is a big week for golf. So, and they already started playing, and it's really surprising. I don't know if you've seen it, but Lucas Glover is in the lead, and Lucas Glover has not been a big name in golf in quite a few years. I mean, he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's more of that journeyman type guy who's had some wins, had some success, but he's not the talk of the town, and he's leading right now. But like every golf tournament, it's day one. You've still got Rory McIlroy in the mix. You've still got Scotty Scheffler in the mix, Jordan Spieth. So, who knows where we'll be on Sunday. But this is always a great tournament. It's kind of considered the 5th major. It always has a really strong field. I used to say it has the best field in golf, but now with LIV, we can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Really now it's like maybe the U.S. Open or maybe the British Open kind of has the best field now. But anyway, whatever. This is a good, exciting week and sort of an unofficial kickoff to the golf season for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still wild looking at the leaderboard. Lucas Glover's about the only name that I'm recognizing until you get to Rory McIlroy. But Jordan Spieth started out extremely hot. What did you think of his round? Just kind of a roller coaster round for him.
It was. I got to see a little bit of it. We had it on in the shop, but we had a lot of business early today, so I got to see it. I think at one point he was like at 4 under, and then or maybe he missed a putt for 4 under, and then that's the way he is. He's a little bit streaky. Obviously, when he's playing well, his bunker play is incredible, but his driver usually lets him down, and his putter is a little bit streaky. But he's still that guy. I mean, he's still that guy that could, obviously, as long as he's somewhere in contention, we'll see. And I think this could be a good year for him to kind of rebound again. We kind of keep waiting for him and JT to come back too. But it's really more about Rory and Scotty right now. I mean, they still are kind of the two big names on the PGA Tour. Obviously not in golf in general. Bryson's the biggest name in golf. But we don't have Bryson at the Players. We don't have John Rahm at the Players. We don't have Cam Smith at the Players. It is still, I keep having to say this, it's still disappointing.
Yeah.
It's still disappointing. We are so splintered. I mean, if if we cut 4 teams out of the NFL and none of those players could ever come back,
that's
it would be weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be like, man, there's no more whoever. I mean, pick any of your top
players.
What if
the Chiefs were one of the teams that you take out, or the Eagles, or both of those teams?
And then you go, man, I miss when we used to have that guy, or I miss when we had that coach, or whatever. So now, I mean, I just think golf is still a little bit weird and a little bit disappointing. And I made the same observation you did. I had a customer in the store, and he was doing a fitting with Jerry, and he kind of casually over his shoulder was like, hey, who's leading the players? Because he could see I was doing some repairs back by the TV. And I looked at the leaderboard like you did, and I said, well, it's Lucas Glover, and then it's about 20 nobodies until we finally get to Rory, Scotty, Jordan, whatever. It's kind of weird. So maybe tomorrow we'll see the leaderboard start to get a little more impressive. But right now, I honestly don't know who some of these guys are. I feel like I'm on a bad episode of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, and I wish that they would come to some sort of agreement, but even right now, like the Live Tour, there's no way that they could be like, instead of us battling for one of your signature events, because I believe they're playing in Miami or Singapore, one of those two places.
Somewhere. They're always everywhere.
We're right next
basically
to each other.
coast to coast, right?
Yeah, I mean... Singapore, Florida. It's right next to Miami, Florida. Who didn't know? But no, I mean, Live. It's gonna if they fix this, it won't be this year.
Yeah.
Right. Because FedEx Cup doesn't end until August or September, and Live has got their schedule already set. So, like you said, if these guys they have to honor their commitment, and they're not going to just stop. I don't know how they can merge it. I don't know how they can fix it. I don't know what they can do. I honestly, maybe I'm just not smart enough, but I don't see how to meld this back together.
Right.
I really don't.
And the only way that it looks possible to be able to have the best field of golfers is by just in the major tournaments.
Absolutely. You get to see it 4 times a year, and that's kind of sad. I mean, 4 is not enough. It doesn't even matter about like when they were all talking about world rank points and all the stuff. There was like, oh, well, we don't get our points anymore. Well, who cares? Because none of that mattered to get you into the Mayakoba Classic. None of that mattered to get you into the week after the Masters when they go to Hilton Head and play. So even if those guys were still accruing points, and even if they were, John Rahm could say, well, I'm world number 2. Well, you still can only play in the 4 majors.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't change a thing, right? So some of the stuff that they've kind of done has really just been rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit unfortunate. I like that, Bryson has found a way to become famous outside of that, and I like that. But it's kind of sad because now he went from being this enemy villain guy on the tour to being the world's most popular golfer in terms of social media and whatnot, and now you got to go to Singapore to see him, or London, or wherever. Well, guess what? Most of us don't have the kind of money or the time to do that, and Live doesn't play in America as much as they play everywhere else.
Right.
So it's really, and then you go to PGA Tour event, and you're like, whether they give you the tickets for free or you pay for them, you're like, who is this guy and who is that guy? And so whatever. So I don't know. It's just we're still, I don't know why we're beating this dead horse, but
it comes up one way or the other every single time.
I'm almost more excited to watch things like the celebrity tournaments where they've got, John Schmaltz and Nate Bargatze playing. That's more I'd rather watch Huey Lewis play alongside, one of the pros.
At least you recognize
At least I know who they are.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, anyway, for those of you David's age, Huey Lewis was a rocker back in the 80s. Woo, look out.
Hung out with the news.
Exactly. Yeah, and he played a harmonica, and you don't know what that is. But anyway, and I'm old.
Speaking of a name that everyone knows, Tiger Woods.
Yes.
And he's just came out with some news, I believe it was yesterday afternoon, that he's ruptured his Achilles. He's going to have surgery. So now...
Already had the surgery.
surgery. There's no way he plays golf this year, right?
There's no way he plays golf this year. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but first off, he's 50 years old. So that means that the healing time's probably longer than if he was 22. Second, he's had so many problems between his back and his legs, knees, etc. He may be the $6 million man by the time this is all done in terms of how many new parts he's got in his body. And so I say I'm concerned. It's not like he cares how I feel, but I'm concerned that we may not see him And he's not going to be the guy that wants to show up at the Masters and hit the tee ball like Nicklaus does at the beginning and then walk away and not do anything. He wants to play. And so I think he's going to be at a real crossroads here pretty soon. And I say pretty soon, meaning like end of this year, first part of next year, where it's like, what does my golf career even look like? Because for the last
TGL
few years,
only?
Exactly. And even that's not really enough for the fans, right? Because it's different teams every week and all that. I mean, Tiger's already played the most limited schedule of golf that anyone's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my Nana plays more golf than Tiger does. And so it's like, what, you know, if he can't come back from this, or if he does come back and it's like, oh, this is just too much work to rehab it back to play. Because again, this is not a guy who just wants to play. He just wants to win. He's a different animal, no pun intended, than a lot of these other guys. He's not out there just to make a living. He doesn't need the money. He only wants the records for, you know, longevity. And so, and that's fine. That's good. We need competitors like that. We need guys who are like, I'm all about the trophy. I don't care about the check that comes with it, right? You know, does he come back and say, you know what, honestly, I cannot get back to winning form. I can get to playing form, but I can't get to winning form. Therefore,
what's the point?
Maybe it's TGL and that's it.
Yeah.
Since that's such a limited format, right?
Right, man. That would just such a.
It's a bummer.
It is a bummer, and you hate to see a career go like that. And I'm not even talking about the negative things that have happened, just more or less the injuries along the way. And then, you know, what was it, 2019 Masters where he wins, and it's just like, this is, you know, it's awesome. He's back to some extent, and then where it's kind of gone since then. And you hate it, man, because you would like to see a golfer of that stature kind of go out on a high note to some extent. Maybe not winning, but just being somewhat relevant, and it doesn't seem like that's been the case. And there's a lot of expectations and hype around him for any tournament that he plays in. So anytime that he's missing the cut, you're like, what in the world's happened?
Yeah, people are buying tickets to come see him, and then he plays half a round and has a back injury, or he doesn't play at all. He pulls out. I mean, obviously, when he pulled out recently, that was because of his mom. That's totally different. But you know, I remember when Aaron Rodgers first, you know, he went to the Jets, right, a couple of years ago, and then like immediately got hurt, didn't play.
Yeah, first drive.
Yeah,
first drive of the season.
Yeah, it's like, wow, all these people bought tickets thinking they were going to get to see one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and now we're going to get to see his backup all season. Yeah. You know, it's like, but that just happens in sports. But yeah, Tiger, I mean, I think we've probably seen the end of his competitive golf. When he won in 2019, he was 44 and a half, something like that. He won a major. That was still old to win a major, but then Mickelson comes behind him in 2021, and wins the PGA at about 50 years old. So it can be done. And Nicklaus won a Masters when he was in his 40s, so it can be done. But I don't know, with, like you said, he's just been through so much physically.
And that's, you know, where a lot of the power from your swing comes from is the legs, and to lose that part of it is tough.
I mean, unless they create like a handicapped league, I just don't see him, and I'm not even trying to be funny, but like, I mean, until we've got golf carts and, you know,
what about the seniors tour?
Yeah, I mean, he said early on that he never wanted to play there.
Yeah.
That just wasn't his thing. He may change his mind. If he does, it won't be because of the money. It'll be for the fans. It'll be for legacy and all that. But again, you know, you look at a guy like Bernhard Langer, who was a great golfer on the PGA Tour and the European Tour and won a lot internationally and made a great name for himself, and then went on to the Senior Tour and just absolutely dominated and still plays great to this day and basically had like a second career. But I don't think Tiger wants that. You know, I mean, Nicklaus never did a whole lot of that. Arnie did a little bit of it. But a lot of these guys, like when they're done with the first tour, the real tour, I mean, it'd be like if we said we're going to go watch a bunch of baseball players, Hall of Famers, play slow pitch softball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun once in a while as like a charity outing. But if they made a league out of it, I mean, we'd be bored. I don't want to watch Greg Maddux throw underhand.
No, I'm right there with you.
So, you know, that's kind of what I'm worried about.
I agree 100% with you. I mean, there are some names on the Senior Tour, but it doesn't tend to be the top dogs, the guys who kind of were the face of the league or the face of the tour.
Yeah.
For a tip of the week, should you be steep or shallow when working on pitch shots?
Well, you've got to be steep
for
enough.
the average golfer.
Yeah, you've got to be steep enough to get the ball up and create some spin. If you're too shallow, if you're too flat, the ball just launches too low. And then you also risk kind of dragging the ground with the club. You know, this is actually a kind of a crazy topic because there's been a lot of debate online lately with some teachers and stuff that have kind of have different thoughts on this. The ultimate answer really is it depends on the lie, the club you're using, where the ball is sitting, how close you are to the green. Like there's a bunch of conditional things.
Kind of like every shot in golf,
right? But I prefer a steeper shot, especially with shorter clubs. I prefer a steeper angle of attack to come in and pop that ball up. It's just so hard to elevate the ball when you're coming in flat and shallow and not really getting anything under the ball, so to speak. But again, it's funny. It's funny that you brought that up though, because that has been debated a lot. There's a couple of teachers online that are kind of going back and forth about it. And for the average golfer, they don't know what angle of attack is anyway. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm saying. Right. If they've never been on a launch monitor and they've never actually seen how the metrics work, they may not. Especially without a launch monitor, you cannot go to the golf course and say to somebody, man, it seems like you're 3 degrees flat or you're 3 degrees too steep.
Yeah.
You can't see that. You need a monitor to tell you. So that's where, like, we had a gentleman in today that was working on a 3-wood. He's a really good player, scratch golfer. He's won the Florida State Am before. He is an excellent golfer. So obviously his mechanics are pretty sound, but he is very shallow. And so his launch angles are low. So therefore we have to adjust the club and do all that. But, that, again, the average golfer doesn't really think about those things or know about a lot of that. So you kind of have to either go get a lesson from Jay Henley or somebody like that, or you've got to do some research online, which be careful going down those rabbit holes because you can fill your head with so many different tips that you
end up hurting your game.
And we see that too. We see folks come in the shop and they'll ask us one question and then we'll answer the question and then they'll tell us all the things they read, which sometimes is conflicting information.
Right.
And then they're just they're just all discombobulated. And so
it makes it so much harder to play the game of golf. The more that you have up here.
Yeah.
When playing golf and trying to, got to make sure this, got to make sure I'm doing that. I feel like for me, it's like, if I make a good contact that day, let's just not think.
That's right. Yeah, the days when I've played my best golf, I was unconscious.
Yeah.
Not like the pros, but I mean, just like the days where I went home and I thought, man, I played lights out golf. I don't remember a single thought that I had. I don't remember trying too hard or mechanically thinking my way around the golf course. And that's just what happens to some people, especially when they're trying to get better. And I can appreciate that. But it'd be like reading 10 different self-help books at the exact same time. You probably can't implement all the advice all at once. Or trying to become a religious person and be like, I'm going to subscribe to 6 different religions. And every day I'm going to do this from this religion and that from that. It's like before you know it, you're just like, I don't remember who I'm even praying to. So
that's the greatest analogy I've ever heard.
I don't know. But that's the way golf gets. And I mean, like even this guy today that was such a good golfer, he was like, okay, the monitor's saying this, so that means I must be doing that. So what do y'all think? So then how do I do it? It's like, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 minutes of discussion before we even hit the next shot.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just,
and then the next
tough.
swing isn't even the same swing as the one prior to that.
But like once he got back into his rhythm and we sort of kind of tried to steer away from some of the mechanical stuff and just be like, look, we know this is what you're doing. So we started finding clubs that would sort of alter that for him. Man, once he got into his groove towards the end of the fitting, oh my gosh, striping the ball. But early on, it was just trying too much, thinking too much mechanics. When these guys are playing basketball and they're on the free throw line, that's not time to be reviewing mechanics in their mind. They should have rehearsed it so many times and practiced it so many times that it should just come naturally. They're not going to all of a sudden be like, wait a minit, what if I tried left-handed? No.
That's what practice is for.
Don't do that. Are we talking about practice?
All right, Alan, before we let you go, give us the product that we're loving over there at Golf Plus.
Oh, my goodness. We have these beautiful shoes at both stores from New Balance, and they're not the dad shoes, but they are white. They have some green. They have some yellow, a little bit of pink. They are a Masters, but they can't call it that edition. So we're calling it season opener. It's a season opener edition. Like yeah, it's a really great looking golf shoe, and it's got the nubs on the bottom instead of a spike, so you can wear them on or off the course. But if you're into like limited edition, kind of fun, really cool looking shoes, or if you just want to be different from everybody else, these white and green season opener New Balance are great. I put a little clip of them on my TikTok channel and sold 2 pairs the first, like within an hour of launching it. Like people were like, hey,
they
send
were
those
ready
to
for
me.
it,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So if you're into that kind of thing, I mean, they're only like $110 a pair. So they're not expensive shoes. I mean, I don't know what cheap shoes are, but I know what expensive shoes are, and that's not expensive. But they're great looking. So that's what I'm loving right now. But then again, I'm a clothes whore. Can I say the word whore on radio?
Yeah, but you're talking about yourself, right? It's not like what? Yeah, what is?
I'm not talking about Jay. I'm not talking about anyways, mama or anything like that. It's just me. I like the clothes. So I actually interviewed one last quick story before I go. I interviewed a guy today. We were talking about clothes and that kind of stuff. And we were talking about belts. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've probably got like 20 or 30 belts because I love belts. And he was like, he looked down at his belt and I could just tell what he was thinking. He was like literally wearing the only belt that he owned. Yeah. And it's reversible, brown on one side and black on one side. That's, yeah. You're either the guy with one
brown
belt.
Is falling off on
there
this.
There you go. You're either a 1 belt guy or you're like a 20 or 30 belt guy like I am. So sorry.
I got a Next belt and it does everything.
There you go. Next belt. We sell those. Those are awesome.
I got 2 belts and they're basically the same exact belt. It's just one still has the brown, so I could reverse that one. And
now
this
I know what to get David for Christmas is a new belt. he needs a new belt.
Next belt.
There you go,
yeah.
man.
All right.
I just try to gain weight and keep the keep the pants fitting. All right, Alan, as always, lots of fun having you on with us. Enjoy the Players Championship, and we will chat with you. Well, we'll see. No, I was gonna say we'll see you Monday on the Inside Drive, but he's off all next week.
Off, yeah.
And then Thursday we'll have the opening round for March Madness. So
probably won't be on then either.
Yeah. So we'll try to figure out maybe a day Monday
I'm gonna
or
do my
Tuesday.
big bracket challenge here.
Hey, there you go. Get in the big bracket challenge. We're looking to get 5 more before the end of the show. Alan, thanks so much for your time, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, listening to ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the Sports Talk and Live play-by-play have to end. Just say, hey, Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida. From Michigan Avenue to the man cave, from the car to the kitchen, we've got you covered. Keep the game going. Hey, Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The rest of the day, a likelihood of thunderstorms and partly cloudy and a temperature of 70 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the south. A variety of slight fog and some clouds tonight and quite warm near 64. Slightly foggy in the morning followed by some clouds and 73 tomorrow. 75 and sprinkles Saturday. This is your Thursday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Introducing Water Clear Pools, the home of the 10-week pool guarantee. We guarantee custom pool completion from permit to your first swim in 10 weeks or less. Water Clear Pools is the premier pool builder for the Margaritaville development on Highway 79. Free quotes and custom pools anywhere in Northwest Florida. Call now, 850-835-4177, or see our website, waterclearpool.com. Licensed and insured. License number CPC 1459723.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. 717 West 11th Street.
We're broadcasting live from the Bendian's Best Move Studios. When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play.
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead.
Hand me that shotgun.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Get on your knees!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is the official radio station on the Gulf Coast for March Madness. We're sitting at 36 right now. I want to get to 41 before the end of the show. So go to ESPNPC.com and click on Big Bracket Challenge. It'll take you to our group. It's free to join. We've got cash prizes for first, second, and third. Brought to you by Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and by Buffalo Rock Pepsi. Great stuff there. Always a lot of fun. Last year, I believe we had an elderly lady win the whole thing. So going to be, it's wide open as we're here in the second round of the SEC tournament. Texas has a 5-point lead on Texas A&M. What other games are going on right now, James? I'll open up the good old Hard Rock app. You've got Fordham and George Washington at halftime. George Washington up 43-35. And then Boise State and San Diego State are underway in the Mountain West. Boise State has a 12-11 lead in the first half. Big games on tap, though. I think in the SEC tournament, we still have Mississippi State and Missouri. They'll be taking off here in about an hour or so, and then following that will be Oklahoma and Kentucky. So the bracket as it looks right now for the quarterfinals, Auburn's going to be taking on Ole Miss. Tennessee's going to be taking on the winner here of Texas and Texas A&M. Texas with that 5-point lead. Florida's got the winner of Mississippi State and Missouri, and then Alabama will have the winner of Oklahoma and Kentucky. Oklahoma with a big win over the Georgia Bulldogs. They were saying that Georgia is safely into the tournament, but a win going into the second round would have been nice for their resume. Is there? What team in the SEC do you think needed some wins the most?
Georgia needed some wins just for that guaranteed spot. Arkansas really needed the wins too. I think Arkansas might get there with the win yesterday and playing the close game today. But and again, it depends on how all these other tournaments shake out, because, somebody can come in as a 16 seed in the ACC tournament and win it, and, well, everybody, bubble bracket is shot.
Well, I mentioned Colorado like 4 or 5 times yesterday afternoon, and they finally have exited the Big 12 tournament as Houston took them out today. I believe it was a 12-point victory or so. Colorado was an 18-point underdog, so they did beat the spread in that game. But speaking of Georgia, that will bring us to our trivia question this afternoon. What year did the Georgia Bulldogs play in their first NCAA tournament? What year did the Georgia Bulldogs play in their first NCAA tournament? 850-215-6290. We got a Golf Plus gift certificate for you, a $25 gift certificate to not the, but that boot store, and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. The last time Georgia made the NCAA tournament was almost a decade ago in 2015. So looking for the year the Georgia Bulldogs played in their first NCAA tournament. A little hint, it was before I was born. 850-215-6290. Have we had any big NFL signings since we've been on the air? I haven't seen anything come through. Looks like the Vikings are going to be cutting their center, Bradbury, if there is no trade after they signed Ryan Kelly from the Colts. James, what'd you think of Daniel Jones going to the Indianapolis Colts on a 1-year, $14 million deal?
I mean, I love it as a Titans fan. It just shows me the dysfunction and how bad the Colts are currently doing by having to go out, and I don't even want to call it an insurance piece, because usually you sign a guy to be behind your starter as an insurance piece. But I think Danny got a chance here at actually being the starter for the Colts. I think the Colts are, a little bit cold now on AR, because I really think that benching himself, I don't want to say benching himself, I really think the removing himself because I am tired from the football game just put a nasty, nasty taste in the Colts' mouth. So I think they're going to go out, have a good experiment. They didn't pay too much for him, so, hey, let's just see what happens, because they still got, 2 more years with AR and a possible third if they take the 5th year?
Yeah.
So this might be like a Will Levis thing where, oops, we made a bad pick, everybody. Let's see how we can backtrack on this and try to fix it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't know if this is a sure sign that the Colts are done with Anthony Richardson. It's more one of those deals. If Anthony Richardson continues getting injured, then Daniel Jones is a replacement that isn't that far below or isn't too high above Anthony Richardson either. It didn't work out over there in New York for Daniel Jones. We'll see if it works out for him in Indianapolis, but I think that he will start as the backup. I think Anthony Richardson, just because of the ceiling there for him, will end up winning the job. But yeah, if he's not going to be fully dedicated as being the guy to lead the Indianapolis Colts and their offense, then Daniel Jones could absolutely win that starting job, or just take over the starting job rather at some point during the regular season.
Yeah, I think it's more of a takeover thing really than... there might be a competition in camp. I don't know. There might be a competition during the 3 preseason games that nobody really tries anymore, so I'm not sure why we play them. But I'll agree with you on that one, Dave. I think it's more of a takeover. Like if AR goes out there and the Colts are 0-4, you're going to hear enough rumblings of people going, hey, let's see Danny. Let's see what he can do. I mean, we saw what he could do. Now, can he do any better in a new location? Let's find out.
We will find out, and we'll talk more college basketball when we get back. We're going to go over some of the automatic qualifiers who have already clinched or punched their ticket to March Madness and some of the other tournaments. Look at some of we'll look at the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, and if you guys have any tournaments you want to look at, give us a call or text 850-215-6290. It's the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is taking it to the hole. Your home for the most live college basketball in the Gulf Coast. The ACC, SEC, and the biggest games in the country. Plus the official station of March Madness.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
Hear every slam dunk in ultra-high fidelity right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Thursday evening. As we head into tonight, a mixture of slight fog and some clouds and a low of 64 with a light breeze out of the south-southeast 6 miles per hour. For tomorrow, slight fog and some clouds and a temp near 71. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny and a high around 73. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
Powered by Panama City Toyota. Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
We're broadcasting live from the Bendian's Best Move Studios. Hometown sports talk from hometown hosts.
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. And I'm David Hayes along with James Fife. Beautiful Thursday afternoon, March 13th in the year of our Lord 2025. SEC tournament action on the TV here in the Bendians. Best Moves Studios. Y'all give Quentin a call, 850-583-0814. We're going to be taking a look at some of the ACC or some of the tournaments, Power 4 tournaments. And if you guys have any others that you'd like us to bring up, just text us at 850-215-6290 or call us and get on the line with us, and we'll talk about some of the action going on with you guys as well. Also, I have TheScore.com released each MLB team's best roster over the last 25 years. So they've taken not just a singular year, they've taken the last 25 years and built rosters. So they have the NL East out. They've got a majority of the divisions out, but we'll take a look at some of those if we have time. We'll start here with the ACC tournament. Do want to remind you guys real quick before we dive into that, as Texas A&M is now just 1 point behind Texas with 1:39 left to go, 69-68. Go to ESPNPC.com and click on the Big Bracket Challenge. We are up to 38 right now. I want to be at 41 by the time that the show ends, so I need 3 more of you to go to ESPNPC.com, click on the Big Bracket Challenge, and invite your friends and your coworkers to join the madness as well. It is free to play with us, and the top 3 are going to be winning cash and prizes. That's brought to you by Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and Pepsi. Also, we still have 3 spots for fantasy baseball. Send your name and your email to 850. That's 2 spots, actually. 2 spots. We're going to be doing the draft Friday online at 7:30 p.m. That'll give me enough time to kind of get home and get everything situated. 7:30 p.m. Friday night for the draft. 2 spots left for fantasy baseball. We're doing it via ESPN. It's not categories. It's actually more like fantasy football scoring-wise, where it's each player having its own score. First time that we did it last year. Big shout out to Dave Neat, who ran away with the league, and will probably do the same thing this year. But, all we ask is that you try to keep your lineup in the best shape that you can. It's free to play. There's nothing really on the line for it. Dave just mentioned it at last year's fantasy football draft that he wanted to do fantasy baseball as well. So we're going to keep that going. Send your name and email to 850-215-6290. And we're still playing trivia, looking for what year did the Georgia Bulldogs play in their first NCAA tournament. 850-215-6290 to win you some great prizes here on the Afternoon Underdogs. All right, we'll start with the ACC tournament. Duke took down Georgia Tech this afternoon, and North Carolina beat Wake Forest, so that will lead to the third matchup between Duke and North Carolina this year. They will play tomorrow night at 6 p.m. You can listen to that game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Tonight, to find out the other half of the semifinal, you've got Louisville and Stanford playing at 6 p.m. and then Clemson and SMU, a little rematch of the ACC championship in football. So the winner of those 2 games will be playing tomorrow night following Duke and North Carolina right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Who do you like? Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, Stanford, Clemson, SMU? What I think it's does the lack of Cooper Flagg help North Carolina get over Duke? Duke really ran through North Carolina in their first 2 games this year.
I'm losing Flagg tough. When you got a kid that is a freshman and he's leading the ACC in rebounds, points, assists, minutes played, all of those things.
I mean, his top 2 player of the year is between him and Janai Broom. You got Rutgers, Dylan Harper as well there for the Wooden Award.
And it's one of those things, that's a really, really hard one to come over, because basketball doesn't have a very large roster to begin with. I mean, college basketball, you got 14 guys, 12 guys that you can rotate in and out. And losing one guy means you're losing about, 8% of your roster. So
yeah,
not only are you losing one of the best players, you're just losing a player in general that can go out and just be a part of the squad. So, yeah, not a good look. Can they still get a number 1? Probably. Even if they lose tonight, yeah, maybe get a number 1 just because of how dominating they were throughout the entire regular season. And I also think it's going to make or break, if they're a number 1 team or not, what his injury is and how long he's going to be out. We could have a Florida State type thing here where He's too injured, so they're not going to miss the tournament. No way they don't.
They won't miss the tournament on the lack of flag.
They might miss that number one spot.
And that's a big dealio. It really is. I think that this is actually I hate to say it's a good thing because you don't want to be missing your best player. I think he's got time to get that ankle right before the NCAA tournament. I don't play him for the rest of the ACC tournament, no matter under any circumstances, because we're basically, if you're Duke, locked into a number one seed. But I think where it's good at is it helps the depth players get some more action, and there's nothing wrong with that heading in to the NCAA tournament. I'll still take, I'm a North Carolina. If I got to choose between North Carolina and Duke, I ride with North Carolina every single time. But I think with my mind here, I'm going to take Duke to still move on to the championship, and I'm going to stick with my original prediction. Duke and Louisville, the number 1 and 2 seeds, playing for the championship in the ACC tournament, quite chalky over that way. We'll move to the Big 12 tournament. It's been very interesting there. Iowa State fell to BYU this afternoon. BYU's been playing some phenomenal basketball, and they continue taking down the number 5 seed, as BYU was the number 4 seed. Houston moved past Colorado 77-68. So with that being said, it's going to be Houston versus BYU. Then tonight it's Baylor and Texas Tech in the Big 12, and then Kansas and Arizona. Does BYU have an opportunity here, James, to knock off one of the number 1 seeds across the NCAA tournament as well? I'm pretty sure Houston is a shoo-in for a number 1 seed.
I mean, you got to look at BYU is still a top 25 team. So even losing to BYU, you still lost to a really, really good program. Houston, much like Duke, pretty well locked into that number 1 spot, even if they don't win the Big 12 because of, again, just dominance throughout the regular season.
Yeah, I'm sticking with I think BYU is going to knock off Houston tomorrow evening. And then when it comes to the other 2 games, I think Arizona takes care of business against against Kansas tonight. And I think Baylor's going to pull the upset against Texas Tech. So I'm liking BYU and Baylor in the when it comes to Baylor and Arizona, that's going to be tough. BYU and Baylor for the Big 12 championship. That's where I'm looking at towards. What about for you?
I think Texas Tech has a good chance against Baylor tonight. Texas Tech.
They are the number 2 seed, Texas Tech
good
is.
Good team, top 10 team, top ranked team, AP poll, number 9, right? So pretty good team. So I kind of see them. I'm just going to go with the regulars. I'm just going to go with, we'll just throw a blank. Sorry, not BYU. Sorry, Houston.
Houston versus Texas Tech for the championship.
Houston, Texas Tech. Be a good championship.
There's a great chance for chalk to play out there in the Big 12 tournament. In the Big 10, let's see where we're at. Oregon beat Indiana this morning. Wisconsin took care of business against Northwestern. Tonight you'll have Iowa and Illinois. That'll be at 6:30, I believe. This is Central Time, and then USC and Purdue 25 minutes after Iowa and Illinois. So Michigan State's going to be taking on Oregon. UCLA is going to be taking on Wisconsin. Then Maryland getting the winner of Illinois, Iowa, and Michigan getting the winner of USC and Purdue. I really think that Michigan State is the best team. Well, they're the number 1 seed, so they're the best team in the Big 10. But I'm still going to take Wisconsin to knock off UCLA and then find a way to knock off Michigan State. I'm going to Wisconsin and I don't have enough faith there in Michigan. So Wisconsin and Purdue, that's what I originally went with. I think that I'm going to stick with that being the championship game with Wisconsin winning. I don't know how much faith I have in Michigan State. Not faith, because I know that they're a good team and they're led by a great leader in Tom Izzo. But how much will do they have compared to some of the teams who are trying to improve their resume? For you, how does the Big 10 tournament play out, James?
Well, sitting here looking at the bracket right now, I like Maryland's chance to get on into the championship game. They've really only got to get through Michigan, which has been a good team, not a great team out of the Big Ten this year. So give me out of the lower half Maryland, and it's a lot tougher for me looking at the other four, either Michigan State, UCLA. I think it's going to be Michigan State out of that. Now, I like the Wisconsin-UCLA matchup. Should be a fun game, but I'm going to go with UCLA. And, let's just have some fun. Let's make it UCLA in Maryland, so I'm totally different from you for a championship.
Hey, there you go, man. UCLA having they haven't played a game yet in the Big Ten tournament, but they did pretty daggum good on the women's side by winning the tournament. It's odd seeing, the UCLAs and Stanfords. I know that we just experienced it in football, but it's still weird seeing that in basketball. I don't think the Pac-12 should still be a conference. Really, in football as well, I think we all would agree that it's nice to see these teams playing against each other regionally, and it's better for the athletes as well, not having to put all of that travel on their bodies while they're still a part of the student body at that point in time.
The thing is like football, okay, not a huge deal. You got 12 games that you mostly play on a Saturday. Now let's look at baseball. What, you play about 50 games in college ball? That's a lot of travel if you're going to go, from UCLA to Rutgers, which is in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's a lot of travel for a baseball team. And that's a lot of people you're traveling with, and you're crossing the country a fair amount. So that's also going to cost the programs a lot of money. Now, most of these programs, even baseball, softball programs at these bigger universities, probably making enough that they're totally fine and surviving. The problem is like if this keeps on going and we eventually have like a CUSA with like Cal State, Fullerton, and like FAU, where those programs at smaller universities don't quite have the money.
Texas A&M and Texas are going to be heading to overtime. Man, there has been a lot of overtime games. I believe, though, that I saw there was an overtime finish in the Big Ten last night. I don't have the scores up in front of me, but there was an overtime finish in the Big Ten last night, and that was the second overtime game. Maybe it was Rutgers. Yeah.
USC wins 97-89.
Second game that went to overtime in Big Ten tournament history. I believe I saw that crazy stat
and
about
that. And it took two overtimes to do it.
Yeah, two. Maybe it was the second multiple overtime game in Big Ten history, because just two overtime games in a tournament's history, that does not make a ton of sense. But Texas A&M and Texas are going to overtime, and there has been a lot of great overtime games. UCF and Kansas last night. UCF taking Kansas to the brink. That one was a lot of fun. I sprinkled a little bit on the UCF money line, and it did not come to fruition. All right, we've already kind of went over the bracket in the SEC, James, but Auburn, they're going to be taking on Ole Miss. Tennessee is going to be taking on the winner of this game, Texas and Texas A&M. Florida taking on the winner of Missouri and Mississippi State. And then Alabama taking on the winner of Oklahoma and Kentucky. Who do you think ends up in the championship game, and who is your eventual champion? I said Texas A&M and Kentucky. Obviously, I need to see Texas A&M move on here. It's really hard for me not to say Florida. I think Florida is going to be one of the teams that, if you're not picking Florida to win the whole thing, they are going to wreck some brackets along the way. It could very well be Florida and Tennessee. It could be Alabama and Auburn. I'm going to stick with my original prediction of Texas A&M and Kentucky and have Kentucky winning the whole thing. What about for you?
This is a great tournament because there are so many good teams in the SEC in basketball, which is crazy for me to say. Usually the SEC has, 2 or 3 really good teams every year in basketball, and the rest of the conferences, good to not great. But if you look at it this year, man, they have got about 5 or 6 teams that are just absolutely light out basketball teams. I'll be a little bit of a homer. I'll take the University of Tennessee, and Florida's just been putting up points, man. Give me Florida.
And there you go. I'm trying to pull up who's already made it in. Out of the Ohio Valley Conference, it is SIU Edwardsville, which is Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and the Cougars. They beat Southeast Missouri State. I don't know how many times they've been. That's why I was trying to pull up The Athletic to see, about how many times some of these teams have made it into the tournament. Out of the Big South, it's going to be the High Point Panthers. They finished with a record of 29-5. They beat Winthrop in their conference championship. Out of the A-Sun, it's the Lipscomb Bisons. They finished with a record of 25-9, beating UNA in their title game 76-65. It is their second appearance. Actually, this does so for the High Point Panthers is their first appearance. For SIU, it's their first appearance. Lipscomb's making their second appearance. Their first appearance was in 2018. Out of the Missouri Valley Conference is the Drake Bulldogs. They are 30-3. They beat Bradley in their title game, and it's their 8th appearance, third straight for them out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Out of the Summit League, it's the Omaha Mavericks. They beat St. Thomas, Minnesota, 85-75, finishing with a record of 22-12, and it will also be their first appearance. Out of the SoCon, it is the Wofford Terriers, and it's their 6th appearance, first being since 2019. Troy Trojans over there in Pensacola were able to wrap up the Sun Belt with a 23-10 record. They beat Arkansas State 94-81. It's their third time in the tournament and their first since 2017. In the Northeast Conference, it's going to be the St. Francis Red Flash out of Pennsylvania. Their record 15-17, sub 500, and it's going to be their second appearance, first since the year I was born, 1991. So 34 years since they've been in the tournament. Out of the Horizon League, it's Robert Morris and the Colonials, 21-13 record, 9th appearance, but their first since 2015. Out of the Coastal Athletic Association, UNC Wilmington Seahawks actually got to watch that game. They beat Delaware 76-72 with a record of 27-7. It is their 7th appearance in the tournament, first since 2017. And the WCC, the West Coast Conference, of course, Gonzaga was able to take over St. Mary's 58-51. They finished with a record of 25-8 and their 27th appearance in the tournament. How many consecutive do you think they've made, James?
12.
26. So 26 of their 27 appearances have been in a row. Out of the Southland Conference, it was the McNeese Cowboys, 27-6. They beat Lamar 63-54, and it's their 4th appearance, second in a row for McNeese. Out of the Patriot League, it's the American University Eagles. Do you know where American University is? Because Ryan Mulvey asked me this the other day.
Is it in Maryland or Virginia?
It's in Virginia, Washington, D.C., to be exact. Exactly where you would expect American University to be. Do you know what their colors are?
Red, white, blue.
Red, white, and blue. They beat Navy 74-52. It's their 4th appearance in the tournament, but their first in a decade since 2014. Big Sky Conference, it was Montana. They beat Northern Colorado 91-83 last night. They are 25-9. It's their 13th appearance in the tournament, first since 2019. We've got a whole lot more of automatic qualifiers to get figured out this Saturday and Sunday. That's going to wrap it up for our conference tournament update. Get over there to ESPNPC.com. Get excited for the bracket challenge. I need 2 more to sign up. We're up to 39. 2 more sign up. Tell your friends, tell your family. Get over there to ESPNPC.com. Click on the big bracket challenge. Thank you to Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and Pepsi for making this happen. Top 3 brackets are going to win cash and prizes. So it's all on the line for you this afternoon. Coming up next, we're going to be chatting with the creator, the host of the Braves Dugout podcast, Sam the Man Peebles.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida presents the madness of college basketball. 68 teams, 32 conference champions, but there can only be one. ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for the NCAA College Basketball Tournament.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Thursday evening. As we head into tonight, a mixture of slight fog and some clouds and a low of 64 with a light breeze out of the south-southeast around 6 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, slight fog and some clouds, and a temp near 71. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny and a high around 73. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Get ready to connect. ESPN Northwest Florida is thrilled to introduce the newest rock stars to the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome to the Beach Chamber. Aspire at Emerald Shores, B&T Fencing, BMR Building Solutions, Boundless Financial Solutions, El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, and First Choice Business.
We're here to champion your success and connect you with this amazing community.
Congratulations from ESPN Northwest Florida.
And the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce, reaching Bay County and beyond.
Bendian's Best Moves is a local moving company in Panama City, providing reliable services to the families and businesses in our community. Coveted for the long list of services they provide, experts at what they do, and they do it all from start to finish. The pros at Bendian's Best Moves have moved doctors, attorneys, pastors, schools, small businesses, the federal government, and they can move you too. For the best moving experience, it's Bendian's Best Moves. Call now, 850-583-0814.
ESPN Northwest Florida is live inside the Bendian's Best Move studios. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
When you've completed dialing, listen for the ringing signal.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back with the Afternoon Underdogs in the doghouse with David Hayes and James Fife. You guys can call or text us 850-215-6290 if you have any Braves or baseball questions at all. Text those over to us right now as we have Sam Peebles about to join us. We are your spot for select Orlando Magic games on ESPN Northwest Florida, and coverage will start for the Magic as soon as the Afternoon Underdogs are over. We will get you to the tip. A little update here from the SEC tournament. In overtime, Texas A&M leads the Longhorns with 1:24 left to go, 78-74. Get over to ESPNPC.com. I need 2 more people to join. Click on the Big Bracket Challenge. It's free to sign up, and you might win some cash and prizes. Thankful for Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and Buffalo Rock Pepsi. Sam the Man Peebles joins us now. He's the host and creator of the Braves Dugout Podcast. Sam, any injuries or any updates that we need to know from Atlanta Braves and their spring training?
Injuries? No, other than it looks like Ronald Acuna might come back the first week of May instead of the second week of May, so that's obviously a good thing.
Well, there you go. We're headed in the right direction, and the bone bruise for Jurickson Profar looks like he will be ready to go for opening day as well.
Correct, yes. That is a pretty major one, I probably should have said.
Well, that's huge. It's kind of old news to an extent, and not necessarily an update, but maybe it hasn't been talked about since we've had you back on with us. Now, Jared Kelenic joined us last year, underwhelmed to an extent last year. Do you think that when Ronnie comes back, will Kelenic and Profar run a platoon in left field, or does that even matter since Jurickson Profar is is a switch hitter?
Yeah, it'll probably be that Jared Kelenic's going to be the fourth outfielder at that point, and we may not see a platoon. It may just be that they release the other dude and move on. He's performed well in spring training, but I don't foresee it. Just because with those 3 guys, that's the 3 you want to run out every single day if you can. Now there may be a chance that Ronald Acuna, doesn't go full. They may swap him into DH and then give Marcelo Ozuna the night off every once in a while. Then that may allow them to get some starts here and there, but that's not worth keeping a roster spot for a platoon. So I don't foresee a platoon happening. I do foresee it happening at the beginning of the year, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully Jared Kelenic can kind of find that spark for himself and for the Atlanta Braves. We'll move on to the NL Central. and get a preview there. Now, who's the class, in your opinion, of the NL Central this year? Is it the Brewers? Is it the Cubs? Could it be the Cardinals, the Reds, the Pirates? Are all the teams on a level playing field?
No, I think it's pretty clearly the Cubs in this race. The Cubs are getting better while the other teams are getting worse.
All right.
Well, I will say all the teams are getting worse. I think Cincinnati is getting a little better, but they're not a favorite, if we're being honest. I'd like to see them do well because they have fun guys on the team that you love to root for, but I don't think that they're ready to win the division yet.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll go through each team. We'll go over the win totals, and you'll go over or under, and then give us a offensive player to watch out for this year. Maybe someone under the radar or someone who's just anyone who kind of comes to your mind. We'll start it off with those Cubbies that you mentioned. The total for them is sitting at 86.5. Do you think they go over or under that number? And then give us a player to watch out for from the Cubs this year.
All right, so the Cubs, 86 you said, right?
Yeah, 86.5.
86.5. I'll say just over that. I'm looking at like 87, 88 wins there. Yeah, and I really like Pete Crow Armstrong, so I think he'll do well for them.
All right, Pete Crow Armstrong is a player to watch there for the Chicago Cubs. Next, we'll move on to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeen's Mania over there. Their number on Hard Rock is sitting at 75.5. Give us your over or under there, and then who we're going to be watching for the Pirates. Hello?
Hey, all right, I can hear you now.
All right, Pittsburgh Pirates sitting at 75.5. Give us if you think it'll be over or under that, and then a player to watch for the Pirates this year.
Ooh, you know what? I'm going to say that the Pirates are above that win total. I think they're headed in the right direction. So when I said all the teams are getting worse, I definitely overlooked the Pirates. I think they're headed up. So
they're kind of an easy team to overlook, aren't they?
They kind of are because they're never competitive. But I want to see O'Neal Cruz take a step forward this year. I really, really want to see that.
When O'Neal Cruz is healthy, who's more exciting, Ellie De La Cruz or O'Neal Cruz?
Whew, that's it. I'll take either one. I'll just say that. I think I'd do a slight edge to Ellie, but O'Neal Cruz is special when he's healthy and not striking out all the time.
Yeah, let me ask you this. If they were to play on the same team, you would put them in the middle infield. Who would play shortstop? Who would play second base? Were you able to hear that, Sam?
No, it dropped out.
If you had Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neal Cruz on the same team and you were going to have them play middle infield, who plays short and who plays second base?
I think I'd actually move one of them to center field.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But just for the sake of this particular theory, and we're going to put them up the middle, who you got?
O'Neal Cruz. And at shortstop.
All right, there you go. Ellie to second base or center field as Texas A&M and Texas are going to go to a second overtime here in the second round of the SEC tournament, tied at 79. A great little push there from the Texas Longhorns to get it to the second overtime. All right, moving on to our third team here in the National League Central. It's going to be the Milwaukee Brewers. They're set at 82.5. Are they over or under that number? And a player to watch for the Brew Crew.
82.5. I'm going to say, I think they go under that. I think that they go under that. I think they're going to be looking at like 79 or 80 wins. No more than like 81.
Oh, there you go. So maybe get you a little futures bet in on the under for the Milwaukee Brewers. And who's a player to watch out for on a team that doesn't necessarily have a lot of names? Are we watching the old hat in Christian Yelich?
Well, no, I want to see Joey Ortiz break out. I think that he's a very underrated player, and I think that he could surprise a lot of people.
All right, we'll move on here to the fourth team. By the way, Sam, episode 2 of season 6 of the Braves Dugout podcast dropped today?
It sure did.
All right, y'all get to anywhere where you get your podcast and check out the Braves Dugout podcast as we move on to our fourth team in the National League Central. It's the St. Louis Cardinals, a low number for what we're used to seeing from the Cardinals at 75.5. Are they over or under that? And give us a player to watch here from the Cardinals.
I think 75 is pretty fair, but since it's 75.5, I think I'll take the over on them. I think that, they're a really well-run organization, and I just don't foresee them dropping that low. As far as someone I want to see do well is Mason Wynn. I think that a lot of their success is going to hinge on if he can really come to fruition and be the player that they think he can be.
All right, and our final team in the NL Central is the Cincinnati Reds. Their number is sitting at 79.5. Give us your over-under there and a player to watch from the Reds organization.
Ooh, 79. I'm going to have to go. Oh, man, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, man.
I think I'm going to go lower than that.
I like that.
Just because of the way that I think that the schedule being spread out, I just don't think that they can hang quite yet. And, man, for whatever reason, they can't keep guys on the field. So, I'm going to say lower than that.
Yeah, they have to have one of the worst medical staffs at least in the current state of Major League Baseball right now. I know, being that I have so many Cincinnati Reds friends, I kind of, silently, I wouldn't say root for them, but you see them go through struggle after struggle after struggle each year, and it's like, man, I just wish for their mental health and well-being that the Reds would do well, but it's hard. I mean, did they do enough in the offseason to get over that hump of 79.5? And then on top of that, will they stay healthy enough? It's ever so hard to predict that in the game of baseball. But who's your player to watch for from the Cincinnati Reds?
Well, I'm going to have to say I think all eyes are going to be on Gavin Lux. I mean, that was the big acquisition that they had this year. And, he's had his ups and downs with the Dodgers. And I think if Gavin Lux does well this year, it's going to pump up a lot of fans. And I think that would be all. I'm really going to be keeping my eye on him. Because I think if he comes out and can be the player that his prospect status said he could be, it could be a big steal for the Reds and really help propel them forward.
All right. Major League Baseball season officially starts next Tuesday and Wednesday with the Tokyo series between the Cubs and the Dodgers. What are some things, some storylines, or just anything that you'll be watching from that opening series?
Man, I just am excited for baseball, and I'll be looking for stuff that happens in those games that I can talk about later. As far as storylines go, it's just fun to see, players from out east being able to play out east. I just think that that's really fun, and it really helps bring in fans from across the world. It truly is showing that the World Series is the World Series. It's got the best players in the world playing in the same league. And that continues to be the case, and it's great to see that we got fans from all across the world being engaged with the best sport on the planet in the best country in the planet.
How big of an issue is the injury to Garrett Cole, who will miss the 2025 season, undergoing his second Tommy John surgery? How big of a deal, how big of a loss is that for the New York Yankees?
Oh, I'm sure that their World Series percentages dropped drastically when that happened. I mean, that was one of the biggest losses you could possibly have. That was arguably worse than the Braves losing Spencer Strider because the Braves' rotation was already strong enough, stronger than the Yankees was last year. And the Yankees losing that Garrett Cole, I mean, I just don't. In fact, the Picada rankings dropped the Yankees down to third place in their division now at around 85 wins. And their World Series percentage is only 4.5% now, and it was much higher than that before. When you lose a player like Garrett Cole, that's pretty much a guaranteed win in a high leverage game. I mean, that's a huge loss. You're now looking on Max Fried to be your ace, who is a great pitcher, but he's no Garrett Cole.
So with that being said, who's your favorite for the American League East now?
The Orioles. I think it's their time.
Man, you would like to see, we would all like to see that out of Baltimore. Kind of took a step back to some extent last year. And you still, got the Red Sox. Will they return to form? Blue Jays and the Rays. Speaking of that, what do you think of the Rays kind of halting their stadium plans and going to get back to the Trop in 2026 after spending 2025 at George Steinbrenner Field?
I was actually wanting to ask your opinion on that because I know you spent time down there when you were a kid. So I'm kind of curious on your thoughts.
My thought is it really stinks to get the people of St. Pete, Tampa excited about a stadium and saying, you don't want to spend the money to refurbish the Trop, to get the roof fixed on the Trop. I hate it for the people of Tampa, St. Pete. I think the writing is on the wall that possibly, now James brings up a great point to refute this, but possibly the time for the Tampa Bay Rays in St. Pete, in Florida in general, is starting to run out. The sand, whatever you call that, the
Hourglass?
Hourglass, yeah. The sand is running out of the hourglass. I hope that that's not the case, just because, as you mentioned, I spent some time, I grew up there essentially, and went to a lot of Rays games in my time there. I'm really looking forward to 2025 and seeing how how the home stadium is for the Rays, being there at the Yankees spring training facility at Steinbrenner Field. But I hate that they're going back to the Trop and making it so easy. I don't know what it was that happened in October that set their plans back, but why? If that canceled the plans then, why are we just now finding out about it as we get ready to open up the season? Not a huge fan of the way that it all played out. And again, it's just kind of par for the course for the Rays organization to do things kind of backwards, if you will. And James has got some strong thoughts too on the owner there, Stu, of the Rays, and how basically he needs to relinquish his rights to the team. He needs to sell the team.
He needs to sell the team. He's not going to sell the team. He'll have to be forced out. But he is, much like Fisher, I think, holding up progress for Major League Baseball because he wants out. And the thing is he's coming to head with Manfred right now. And Manfred is basically just digging his heels into the sand that this team with this ownership will not move from this area. So I don't think the Trop's going to be ready for 2026. I don't think the Rays are going to put any money into it, and I don't think the city of St. Pete's going to put any money into it. And the Yankees have only said that playing at Steinbrenner Field is a one-year deal. So the Rays are going to have to go out. My guess is the Rays play the next season at their single-A affiliate in Port Charlotte, and then maybe do that for the next 2 years to run their 3 years that they still got left at the Trop. And after that, I am not sure what you do with a team that has no home.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope that here's hoping that the Tampa Bay Rays do really well, boost their value, and then he can sell. Because as an owner, you want to get the most value out of your team. So he needs to do what he can to make them a winning team so that it's profitable to sell.
This is kind of putting you on the spot, but you probably already thought about it. Give me a player, it doesn't have to be from any particular organization, but give me a player who's going to have a Chris Sale or Reynaldo Lopez type bounce back in 2025. Sam, were you able to hear that?
Do we got you, Sam?
All right, there we go.
There we go.
What was the question?
Give me a player that can have a resurgence to their career in 2025, such as Chris Sale or Reynaldo Lopez.
Well, if we go on the offensive side of the ball, my pick is definitely Austin Riley. His numbers show that he was one of the unluckiest players in the league last year. So look for Austin Riley to come back and come back to his MVP vote level playing if he can stay healthy.
What about Grant Holmes? Do you foresee him being a fifth starter for the Braves, or is he a bullpen guy this year?
My prediction is that he will be in the rotation. He has, if you watch him in spring training, he is producing ground balls at an elite rate. And he's the type of guy that even if he walks someone, it doesn't matter because he's going to get him to hit into a double play. He's definitely much better than I anticipated. I would say that he's got the fourth spot on lock, and then when Spencer Strider comes back, they'll probably move Ian Anderson to the bullpen.
Do you wanna play a game real quick?
Sure.
All right, so the score.com has released each team in Major League Baseball, their best rosters from the past 25 years. Now, it's not a single season roster. It's the best players compiled over the last 25 years. So I'm going to go through just the lineup and go through catcher, through designated hitter, and see if you can guess who they have at each position, all right?
Okay.
All right, we'll start it at catcher. Who do you think is the catcher from the last 25 years for the Atlanta Braves?
The best catcher?
Well, just who do you think they have in the lineup? There's really only two to choose from I think anyways. But who do you think they have at catcher?
The parameters were the best player for the team over the last 25 years?
Yeah, so basically the explainer
it should
is...
be Brian McCann.
Yes, exactly.
That's where I'd go.
Basically taking the best players from the best 26-man roster from the last 25 seasons. They're doing it for the NL East, and we're looking at the Braves right here, and it is Brian McCann. What about first base? This one's absolutely easy.
Freddie Freeman.
Absolutely. Second base.
Ooh, that one's tough. They probably put Ozzie Albies, but I would have put Marcus Giles.
Ooh, I like that. They did put Ozzie Albies, but Marcus Giles is on the 26-man roster on the bench there. What about shortstop?
Andrelton Simmons should be the answer. But they probably put Raphael for call.
No, they put Dansby Swanson.
Not surprised.
Get out of here. No way.
Get out of here. Hey, Sam, we need to make next week. You'll make your best roster for the Atlanta Braves last 25 years. Third base, easy. We're not even going to guess. It's Chipper Jones. What about left field? Left field for the Atlanta Braves over the last 25 years.
Justin Upton.
Ooh, I like that answer, but they're going to go with a guy who really, I don't remember him in left field very much, but I guess, if you're playing corner outfield, you could play anywhere. Jason Hayward is the answer.
No, he's a right fielder. He doesn't play left field.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. In fact, their outfielder, their extra outfielder is Gary Sheffield, who also was a right fielder, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, right fielder, correct.
Yeah. Center field, this one's pretty easy. Who would you have in center field?
Andrew Jones.
Yes, sir. All right. Right field, who do you have there?
I guess they'd probably put Ronald Acuna.
Who would you put? Who would you put, Sam?
What was the last position you said?
Right field. Still at right field.
I think they probably gave it to Ronald Acuna.
No, they did. They did. I'm saying, who would you put, though?
Oh, yeah. Ronald Acuna would be number one, followed by Gary Sheffield or J.D. Drew, depending on the parameters. J.D. Drew had one of the best seasons of all time, but he was only on the team for 1 year.
That's a guy, oh man, bad news, breaking news for the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox is going to have season-ending surgery on his finger. But yeah, that's a name I always forget about playing for the Atlanta Braves, J.D. Drew. And then designated hitter, who do you think that is?
There's only been one.
Yeah, Marcelo Ozuna. But they actually have Austin Riley pinned in at designated hitter. Not that he ever has, but I guess they would take him over Marcelo Ozuna with Chipper Jones locking up the hot corner. On the bench at catcher, they got Javi Lopez. They got Marcus Giles, Matt Olson, and Gary Sheff. Staff ridiculous as well. Greg Maddox, Max Fried, John Smoltz, Julio Teheran, and Tim Hudson. Are you surprised no Tommy Glavine on the best pitchers for the last 25 years for the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that they put Julio Teheran on there. I mean, it was good, but no Glavine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the numbers ain't too bad. Almost pitched as many innings as Tim Hudson did. He pitched more innings than Greg Maddox, according to the score here. More innings than Maddox, Fried, and John Smoltz. 3.65 ERA, 1.21 WHIP, and 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Sam, thanks so much for your time, my friend, and enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy some SEC basketball this weekend.
Awesome. I hate that Auburn lost, but hey, War Eagle.
Hey, well, Auburn, there could be a rematch between Auburn and Alabama for the third time this year in the SEC tournament because they're going to be playing, oh, man, I've already shut it down. They're going to be playing who won today? Oh, goodness gracious. Too much basketball going on, but Auburn will be playing tomorrow, Sam, I believe, to start the day off. So enjoy that game and enjoy your weekend, and thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much. Go Braves.
Go Braves. Chop on, everybody. That is Sam Peebles. Make sure you go listen to his latest episode 2 of Season 6 of the Braves Dugout Podcast. Texas is on top of Texas A&M 90-89. They're in second overtime. 22 seconds left to go. Texas at the free throw line. Maybe we'll have a final result when we get back for our final segment of the afternoon. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
Up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Winter Storm Enzo.
And breaking weather as it happens.
Hurricane Helene.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
Rely on it.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Thursday evening. As we head into tonight, a mixture of slight fog and some clouds and a low of 64 with a light breeze out of the south-southeast around 6 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, slight fog and some clouds and a temp near 71. In the afternoon and evening, partly sunny and a high around 73. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
ESPN Northwest Florida is live inside the Bendy and Best Move Studios. Brace yourself and strap in for the ultimate adrenaline rush.
It's showtime.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
We have a final from Nashville. Texas outlasts Texas A&M to bust my thoughts on the SEC bracket. Texas A&M and Kentucky is what I had going, so I'm changing it to Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama will take on the winner of Kentucky and Oklahoma. Florida will take on the winner of Missouri and Mississippi State. Texas and Tennessee tomorrow at 2:30, and Auburn and Ole Miss tomorrow to start the morning off. So Auburn and Ole Miss, Sam, if you're still listening, go to ESPNPC.com and click on the Big Bracket Challenge and invite your friends and your coworkers. I need 2 of you right now, just 2 of you. There's plenty of people listening right now. Just 2 of you. Go to ESPNPC.com and sign up for us. That way we can get to our goal. You have plenty of time to sign up, but don't wait till the last minute. ESPNPC.com, Big Bracket Challenge. Click that link there, and if you are a top 3, if you're top 3 in the bracket, you will, or in the group rather, you will win some cash and some prizes. Brought to you by Panama City Toyota, PCB Hobby, and by Buffalo Rock Pepsi. We mentioned earlier, North Bay Haven's going to be hosting Liberty County tonight. Liberty County 2-6. North Bay Haven's baseball squad is 4-6 at this point in time. And Malachi is going to be throwing out the first pitch this evening at North Bay Haven for the varsity baseball squad. He said he'll take some pics and share that later. Tag ESPN Northwest Florida in it, Tim, if you are listening. Someone texted in that previous segment, what about the Rays moving to Nashville with the recent news? We talked about that to open up the show this afternoon. I would hate to see that happen. Is there a chance of that? I think that Major League Baseball is going to give Nashville their own franchise.
maybe.
I think it's time
you
to
gotta
get
have
to
somebody
32.
to build a stadium. The city of Nashville is already tapped out on stadiums. They're paying for the new soccer stadium, and they're paying for the new football stadium that they're currently building. So they got 2 buildings that they're paying loans on.
Yeah, but what's the trend right now in Major League Baseball? Playing in minor league stadiums.
They got a nice new minor league stadium that's not too old in Nashville. It was built, I want to say, like 2009, 2010.
Oh, that's
the only problem with it is where the stadium is, there's nowhere to really expand it. It's downtown, sort of on the west end, and it's a 10,000-seat stadium, and it's a really nice minor league stadium, but there's no place to go out, and with the way the stadium's designed, it can't really go up without looking really weird and just blocking views from the guys up top to be able to look down. So unless there's going to be a massive private equity influx to build a stadium with no money from the state, with no money from the city, Nashville's not super high on my list, though I want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Charlotte could be getting one?
Charlotte, I think, is a better chance.
What's the most likely spot for a new franchise, Major League Baseball?
New franchise, not moving franchise?
Yeah.
New franchise.
Because they've been talking about this for a couple of years of expanding, but I just don't like when there is an odd number of teams. If we're going to add a franchise, add 2, just like you did with the Diamondbacks and the Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, you got to add 2 at a time. And if you're going to add 2, you might see Nashville as an ad, because that's going to come down the pipeline in like a 5 or 10 year time span.
Right.
Not like this team's moving, we got to get going.
Yeah.
So if Nashville can have the heads up and the notion, they might be able to set some money aside, but I really don't know what the appetite is there right now. Charlotte, great one. I also think Portland might be a place you might see a team showing up.
Oh, Portland could be interesting. Oh, man. My bets have busted that I started the show with.
He busted.
Shout out to University Academy as they are undefeated or went undefeated throughout their season and are now back-to-back Bay County champions. Don't know what the score was. Just saw Beth post on her page that they did it, and they had a heck of a season this year. I believe, depending on what happened in the championship game, prior to this game, they only gave up 1 goal on the year. Other action in Bay County High School sports, Mosley is hosting Riverdale. They got underway at 4:45, or Mosley's playing Riverdale. They got underway at 4:45. North Bay Haven hosting Liberty County at 6 p.m. Bay's got Rickards at 6 p.m. Vernon taking on Chipley at 6 p.m. Arnold is taking on Marist at 6 p.m. Arnold on a little bit of a slide. They're 7-5. Marist is 8-2. I believe they're out of Georgia. That game starts at 6 p.m. 6 minutes away from that. South Walton is 9-2. They're taking on the IMG Academy, who's undefeated at 9-0 at 6 p.m. Bozeman 12-1, having a great run. They're taking on Bluntstown at 3-12, and they will get underway at 6:30. PSJ and the Tiger Sharks taking on Wakulla Christian. PSJ is 6-7, and they will start at 6:30 p.m. In softball, Rutherford is hosting Walton at 6 p.m. Weewa taking on Sneeds at 6 p.m. Holmes County taking on Liberty County at 6, and Chipley is taking on Mosley at 6 as well. PSJ is visiting Mariana. They started at 5 p.m. We will recap those scores tomorrow on the Afternoon Underdogs with myself, Caveman Rake, and the Bone Crusher. Anything that is, what about the situation in Virginia in the sport of track and field with the woman wielding the baton?
So what happened? It was the 3A championship indoor track and field in the state of Virginia. This was the 400-meter 4x4 relay. So everybody, passes the baton, runs, that kind of thing. So what happened, quote unquote, during the event was the 5 lanes were full, people running, and they were coming around one of the corners where there's about to be a handoff. So you see everybody kind of getting in together. Well, the lady that was in third place apparently did not want to be in third place to the gal that was in second place, so she clubbed her in the back of the head with the metal baton. And, of course, the second place runner grabbed head, hit the ground, possible concussion. So, yeah, quite quite the interesting thing that happened there. Usually track and field's a sport where you're like,
high levels of sportsmanship.
You really don't think about somebody coming up from behind you and whacking you in the back of the skull with something.
And then saying it's an accident. Meanwhile, she went like forward twice. When you're running, yes, okay, your hand does kind of go in a hitting motion if you're doing an uppercut like Sock'em Rock'em Boppers or whatever that was.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Robots, there you go, yeah. But yeah, she kind of came over the side of her head twice.
When your arm goes behind you and then over the head and back down, I mean, you can run like that, but that's a really weird way to be running a race.
My goodness gracious. Well, James, another great week with you. Hope you enjoy some college basketball. What ended up happening with your Lady Hilltoppers in their tournament earlier?
Lady Toppers won their first round. Who are they playing? I don't even remember because that's how much I was really
Someone in the Conference USA.
FIU, I do believe.
There you go.
In Miami. And they defeated them by a 9-point victory.
And there you go. Well, you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. You're going to have the Coach James Hill Show live at 7 in the morning, and then it'll be the Inside Drive from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll be back with you here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll have the ACC semifinals starting at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon for a 6 p.m. tip. We've got ACC Championship, SEC semifinals on Saturday. We're loaded. You guys have been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. For James Fife, I'm David Hayes. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I. Y'all buckle up and be safe out there.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Magic plays here.
Tonight, the Orlando Magic travel to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans.
3 ball, that's catch.